New Jersey Nightly News with Rebecca Sobel in Trenton and Clayton Vaughn in Newark.
Good evening. In the news tonight, Catholics in New Jersey and around the world are mourning the loss of their Pope. Resorts International wants to split its common stock 3 for 1. And we'll have a background report on a product called B15, something the government says is a pseudo-vitamin. Clayton?
Good evening, Rebecca. In sports, Paul Budline reports on the finals in the Mutual Benefit Life Tennis Tournament and on a closer look. Transportation Commissioner Louis Gambasini will have some good news and some bad news for New Jersey's rail commuters. Rebecca?
New Jersey Catholics paused today to mourn and reflect on the death of Pope Paul VI. Worshippers attended the Mass of Resurrection in churches throughout the state. Catholic leaders praised the Pope's spiritual leadership of the last 15 years, a time during which he angered both conservatives and liberals by refusing to relax the Church's stand against birth control and by ordering that Catholic services be conducted in each country's native language instead of in Latin. Archbishop Peter Garrity of Newark said Pope Paul will be most remembered for his commitment to human dignity.
And then men and women of goodwill throughout the world will surely miss him because of his clarion voice raised constantly in favor of justice, peace, and human dignity.
Archbishop Garrity will lead a memorial mass for the Pope at 12:15 tomorrow afternoon at St. Patrick's Pro-Cathedral in Newark. Clayton?
A couple of notes on the economy of casino gambling here in New Jersey. First, Resorts International, operator of the only casino in the state, proposed a 3 for 1 stock split today. Resort said its stock price was getting too high and it wants a wider base of ownership. And second, the state's casino revenue fund has pushed over the $3 million mark. The fund pays for senior citizens and disabled persons programs. 8% of the gross revenues from casino gambling go into the fund, and it topped $3 million on July 22nd when Resorts won in a single day $1 million. The Dr. X murder trial not in session today. The judge hearing arguments on whether a book publisher and a movie company should turn over any contractual information concerning New York Times reporter Myron Farber. The judge says he'll rule Wednesday on that issue. Meanwhile, Farber continues his jail time for refusing to turn over his notes, citing the First Amendment guarantee in New Jersey's Shield Law. Governor Byrne, without referring to Farber by name, has affirmed his support for the Shield Law, saying it's appropriate that there be secrecy in certain areas, and there have got to be public officials standing up for that right. Rebecca?
It's been 5 years since severe flooding claimed 6 lives in the Plainfield area. Still, very little has been done to prevent another similar disaster in one of the worst flood basins in New Jersey. Jeffrey Hall reports.
Even with all the rain we've had in the last week, none of the bodies of water in the Raritan River Basin have reached flood stage, a far cry from the condition they were in 5 years ago this month, when a 4-hour-long cloudburst dumped 10 inches of rain in parts of Somerset, Middlesex, and Union counties. 6 people were killed and many others were left homeless. There was talk something would be done. But that something is still almost as much a mystery as this muddy water. And people still live with the fear that they could lose their homes with almost any cloudburst. But some residents have taken precautions and assume new attitudes about flooding.
As far as property is concerned, a human being is a little more worthwhile than your property. And my precautions now, we don't have a basement. Our new home here now in Greenbrook, we do not have a basement. And I do have flood insurance.
Since the 1973 floods, the Army Corps of Engineers has been developing a $125 million flood control project for the Raritan River Basin. It calls for flood dams, bridge reconstruction, and levees. But the study is coming along slowly, and there are fears that its biggest barricade is apathy.
The people are apathetic. They have forgotten what has happened 5 years ago. We lost 6 lives in the Greenbrook subbasin. And if we do not get the support for a flood control project, the next disastrous flood, if and when it comes, we could lose many more lives.
In Piscataway, I'm Jeffrey Hall.
A Superior Court judge today refused to temporarily close a Wall Township disco where a customer was allegedly beaten to death by bouncers. The Royal Manor Disco can remain open, but there'll be a trial later to determine if the club should be closed permanently.
2 Connecticut public affairs groups say they will file a lawsuit this week against New Jersey and New York to try to force a reduction in air pollution. The Connecticut groups say lack of compliance to federal standards by New Jersey and New York is the reason for much of Connecticut's air pollution problem. The Federal Environmental Protection Agency has been after Connecticut to set up a mandatory vehicle inspections program and to do other things to cut down on its air pollution. The term B15 is verbal shorthand for a substance that some people think is a vitamin. Whatever it is now surrounded in controversy, complete with champions and critics. Sandra King reports.
From exercise to food habits, the push for longer, healthier lives is on. Enter so-called vitamin B15. Some say it's a panacea, a cure for practically anything that ails you. Others, including a federal judge in Newark who earlier this year ordered a $16,000 batch of the stuff destroyed, say it's a fraud. Among its proponents are Soviet scientists, American athletes, pop health experts, and ordinary folks just looking for an easy answer for better health.
If anyone tells me that they get out of energy easily, I tell them try B15. If someone plays tennis and easily poops, I say try it. It can't do you any harm.
But the Food and Drug Administration isn't so sure. The FDA contends B15, also known as calcium pangamate or pangamic acid, does not meet the tests for vitamins or for safe food additives.
B15 is illegal under the Food and Drug Act in New Jersey as well as in every other state in the Union. It has never been shown to be safe as a food additive to date.
It hasn't been shown to be unsafe either, has it?
It hasn't been shown to be anything at this point in time.
Despite the agency's strong words, B15 is still being bought and sold in New Jersey, and pharmacists don't seem to think they're breaking the law.
The B15 that we have in stock is marked calcium pangamate 15. As far as I know, the thing that has been seized has been marked vitamin B15. This is not marked vitamin B15. I doubt whether it's subject to seizure.
Well, the FDA says it doesn't care what the bottle says. All B15 or pangamic acid or calcium pangamate is subject to seizure at any time. But the agency admits it's taking a hands-off attitude, at least until the outcome of a case in Chicago that will come to trial sometime this year. Those who sell the stuff accuse the FDA of scientific arrogance and continue to make extravagant claims for the benefits of B15.
The literature states that people have benefit if they've had heart conditions, if they have emphysema, if they have muscle weakness, fatigue, mental problems. And so if all the studies, hundreds of them, by the Russians and by our doctors in the United States show with their patients that this does occur, why should it be restricted?
But Susser refuses to say where he gets the B15 he sells, how it's made, or how much is actually sold. Even the Food and Drug Administration concedes that the scientific jury is still out on B15. And until the FDA can produce hard evidence that B15 is harmful or take strong enforcement steps against its sale, the fad is likely to continue, fueled by a natural inclination to want to believe that the wonder drug claims really are true. In Newark, I'm Sandra King.
2 New Jersey officials today asked the National Highway Traffic Administration to recall all Firestone 500 steel-belted radial tires. Consumer Affairs Director Adam Levin and Deputy Attorney General Paul Levy said the tires are dangerous because they're prone to blowouts at highway speeds. Levin said he received more than 700 calls about the problem during 4 days of a special hotline for owners of those radials. Firestone has refused to voluntarily recall all of the tires. Any study of animal behavior includes the way animals communicate with each other. A New Jersey man has devoted his life to studying one of the world's most common birds, and in figuring out how they converse, he's almost learned how to talk back. Mike Power has the story.
That's a college professor imitating seagulls. And don't think he's just fooling around. Dr. Colin Beer has been studying the sounds of seagulls for 20 years. He wants to figure out how they talk to each other. So he spends every summer in the Brigantine National Wildlife Refuge, motoring through the marshy islands to listen to his birds. Dr. Beer works for the Rutgers Institute of Animal Behavior. He says gulls have a social life of sorts. They recognize each other from their voices. Each one's voice is slightly different, and different calls mean different things. That, for instance, is the long call.
In addition to conveying identity, it can be used as threat, as sexual invitation, as a way of getting the young to approach, to be fed. And only some of this complexity have we worked out.
Dr. Beer is also pretty sure that mother and father seagulls teach their children how to talk. Mom and Dad fly away from the nest and keep squawking until the kids squawk back just right. Despite all this, Dr. Beer doesn't think the seagull is the brightest bird that ever flew. For example, Dr. Beer says he once saw a seagull, no stranger to garbage and trash, sitting in its nest, trying to hatch a light bulb. In Brigantine, I'm Mike Power.
The Mutual Benefit Life Tennis Tournament, the rest of the Garden State sports news, next when the New Jersey Nightly News continues.
Here's the weather forecast for New Jersey. There's a flash flood watch in effect tonight. Occasional showers and thunderstorms may cause some localized flooding near small streams and in urban areas. Overnight lows in the low 70s. Tomorrow, a bit more sunshine, but with a continued chance of showers and thunderstorms, highs in the low to mid-80s. Precipitation probability 70 to 80% tonight, 50% tomorrow. The outlook for Wednesday, partly cloudy, very warm and humid.
The Mustang, rattlesnake, and coyote once symbolized the wild and untamed American West. Today, trapped, hunted, and corralled by man, they have become the animals nobody loved.
Don't miss it Wednesday at 9 on New Jersey Public Television.
Good evening. There's an interesting experiment coming up tomorrow night at Giant Stadium. It's the first annual North Jersey All-Star Football Classic. The game will include the finest high school players from the 10 northern counties. The East squad from Essex, Hudson, and Bergen has been working out for the past week at Uppsala. Tony Verducci from Seton Hall Prep is coaching the East, while Madison's Ted Monica does the honors for the West. Verducci thinks this high school all-star game is long overdue.
Well, I'm football 100%, and it could be from January to January, so I'm for football all year long. And this is a unique situation here, being able to coach all-star kids. This is a dream, a coach's dream.
Yeah. Do you think in any way it's putting too much emphasis on football when we started this early in early August?
I don't think so. They play basketball from June to June, soccer all summer long, and football's been taking the back seat. So I'm 100% pro football, so that earlier we start, the better I like it.
Both the East and the West teams include 40 players who graduated in the spring. Most of them are just about to leave for their first year of college football. To them, tomorrow night's game is much more than just another exhibition match. It's a chance to play in front of a large crowd at Giant Stadium in a first-time venture. They're taking it all quite seriously.
It's a matter of pride. It's very important to us. You know, they don't feel we're good ball players. So we want to go out there and really do our best.
Oh yeah, I want to win. I mean, I know everybody else wants to win. We've been working hard. My neck's proven it's killing me, and I know everyone in that locker room is really up for this game, and I know the coaches are flying high, and we're going to win.
For the second time in its history, Monmouth Park today canceled its racing car due to rain. Monmouth jockeys this morning voted unanimously not to ride, considering the track too dangerous. Crews are working on the track today. Racing is scheduled to resume tomorrow. The Mutual Benefit Life Tennis Tournament finally concluded this afternoon. Because of all the rain delays, both the semifinals and the finals had to be crammed into one day. In one semifinal matchup, 19-year-old Jose Luis Clerc in the forecourt upset John McEnroe in 3 sets. Clerc from Argentina had become a crowd favorite through the week, and his win over McEnroe earned him a spot in the championship match. In the other semifinal, the tournament favorite Guillermo Vilas won in 2 sets over Hungary's Balázs Taradze. That set up an all-Argentinian final, Clerc versus Vilas. In that final match, Vilas was simply too strong. He cruised to a 6-1, 6-3 victory. Guillermo Vilas has won the tournament at the Orange Lawn Tennis Club for 2 years in a row now. His first place prize money, $12,750. Guillermo Vilas, the winner in one of the wettest tournaments ever. And that's sports for tonight. Rebecca?
Thanks, Paul. Tonight on Sound Off, the topic is the Tox Island Dam. The commentator, John McLaughlin, columnist with the New Jersey edition of the New York Daily News and a contributing reporter on this newscast.
After 16 years of unremitting warfare involving the Department of the Interior, the Congress, the governors of states bordering the Delaware, organized labor, and environmentalists, it now looks as though the celebrated Tox Island Dam proposal is dead. The Delaware is about to be designated by Congress as a scenic river, and you don't build dams on scenic rivers. Actually, the Tox Dam is a casualty of Vietnam. Construction was to have started in 1967, but the money was frozen because the government needed it to blow up Asians. Back then, it was an idea whose time had come. Memories of the Great Flood of 1955 were fresh, and New Jersey and the rest of the Northeast were in the throes of the worst drought ever. By the time the war was over, so was the drought. Bill Cahill was governor then, and he was an environmentalist. He vetoed the dam because he didn't want to be responsible for blocking the last free-flowing river in the east. Whether this decision and others that contributed to the death of the dam was wise depends literally on the weather. The drought of the 1960s was unprecedented, and the kind of storm that produced a flood of 55 occurs on the average only once every 100 years. So the odds look pretty good. Water supply and flood control are good and valuable things, but so is natural poetry. And in its middle and upper reaches, that's what the Delaware River is. I'm John McLaughlin.
Next on Nova, a whisper from space. In 1965, this microwave horn, looking like an old-fashioned ear trumpet, picked up a murmur from the deepest reaches of space. The radiation it detected was generated billions of years ago, radiation which was released during the birth of our universe. Professor Philip Morrison traces the discovery of a whisper from space, next time on Nova.
Watch Nova Wednesday at 8 on New Jersey Public Television.
New Jersey's not only the garden state, it's also the commuter state. More than 70,000 people take the train to work every day. But the railroads are plagued with problems, unreliable equipment, constant delays, and canceled runs. If there's one constant on the state's rails, it's the ever-increasing fares. That despite hundreds of millions of dollars in aid from the federal government. Why isn't service better? Why aren't the cars cleaner or faster or the fares any lower? Tonight we'll pose these questions on behalf of the New Jersey commuter to Louis Gambaccini, the State Commissioner of Transportation. For 16 years, Mr. Gambaccini was in charge of the Port Authority's PATH trains, a model of urban mass transit systems. And now Mr. Gambaccini must find a way to rebuild the rest of the state's rail service. Why isn't rail service any better, Mr. Gambaccini? First things first.
Well, I think the real answer is 30, 40 years of continued deferred maintenance and neglect and disinterest in later years on the part of private rail carriers who saw it as a loss leader among their operations and could not justify on the usual profit and loss basis maintenance and improvement and repair. So the full import of 30, 40 years of neglect is really being realized today. Within the last 2 years, the state's taken on the bulk of the responsibility for all rail service and has a major job to turn around all of that residue of neglect.
Now you're in office. You've been in office since May, and I would assume from what you're saying that you're hoping to turn it all around.
Well, I keep telling everybody not to expect miracles overnight, and notwithstanding that, I get steadily pressed to produce miracles overnight. I'm optimistic about the future. I think if the public at large and the writers can appreciate that fundamental fact that it took many years to get to this point, and then also appraises the extent of commitment, major, hundreds of millions of dollars of capital, federal and state, that is being applied to the physical rehabilitation, and a major effort to try to improve the institutions that operate it. I think down the road shortly that things will improve, and I also believe that there is a major role for public transportation in the future.
There is a Shore community group, a commuter Shore group that...
There are several.
Yes, there are. And they have done many things, including filing lawsuits and get very upset about the trains. And one of the things, excuse me, they had said is that mismanagement is the reason that the trains are in such sad shape.
I sympathize with the commuter groups. I was a Shore commuter for several years, and indeed, I think more than anything in my background that prepared me to be a manager of a transit system was that experience, the excruciating frustration that came, as you describe it, from standing on platforms not knowing what was going on or if a train would ever arrive. I sympathize with the Shore commuters, but I also, as I've told them directly, they've got to understand that the state has acquired this problem, the accumulation of neglect over the years, and we have a lot of good people working very hard to try to get on top of these problems. The lines are thin. We don't have enough staff to do all that has been thrust on the department relatively overnight in the last year, and it's a massive job to turn it around. Mismanagement in the past is partly a function of deliberate choice by private carriers who saw this as a loss center. There's no question but the solution lies in management, improved organization and management, but most important of all is motivation. And I think with particular reference to Conrail and with some of the private bus carriers, the motivation isn't all that it might be.
Now, there has been
some
talk.
there is.
I'm sorry. But there has been some talk about replacing Conrail.
Yes.
What is your feeling on that?
I think it entirely depends on Conrail performance over the next 6 months to a year. We've served notice that we are studying alternatives to their management and operation. And I'm determined to get that message across up and down the line in Conrail. They've got to be much more sensitive to the day-to-day problems of the commuter. They've got to demonstrate that in a variety of ways. They also have got to improve the on-time and reliability quotient. To the extent that that eventuates, Conrail may be the answer for the deep future. But I don't think that's at all a certain bet at the present time.
So what you've really done is put Conrail on notice.
Yes, in effect.
Mr. Gambaccini, you have yourself said that you are not satisfied with the way the transportation system's running, which is very refreshing. How do you then expect commuters to agree to pay a 10% fare increase when the train service is not what it should be?
At the present, I don't think there is any choice. It's either reduce or increase the fares or reduce service. Ironically, in my view, the extent of reductions of service are grossly out of proportion to the savings you can accomplish. But it's either of those two things or substantial general public support and pressure to continue and increase the level of operating assistance, tax support. So
this may be an unrealistic question, but let's indulge fantasy for a moment. If I suddenly were incredibly bountiful and could present you with unlimited resources to establish a transportation system that would serve this state not only for the people who live here, but for the commuters who must work and pass through New Jersey. What kind of overview system could you see?
Well, obviously, in fact, it would be much like that which existed 50 to 60 years ago, the grid of trolley routes that permitted you to get from here to there. You had almost unlimited flexibility in getting from any point to any other point. That was in a day where there was no automobile and almost everybody rode public transportation for every purpose: leisure time activity, shopping, visiting relatives, and work.
Well, I appreciate your coming, Mr. Gambaccini. I appreciate your vision. I hope that within the next 5 years we have something like the PATH system.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. The state's largest teachers union is suing the state to block a plan that would evaluate teachers by student performance. The New Jersey Education Association says the plan would bring chaos to teacher tenure systems and violate some standing teachers' contracts. The plan to use student test scores to grade teachers is set to go into effect in September 1979. And this late item, we had an error on our almanac tonight. The Dominico bus service between Bayonne and Elizabeth operates weekdays. Clayton?
Well, that's the news. Our mailing address for viewer mail is CN 777 Trenton 08625. Tonight's letter from Mount Holly and a writer who says he prefers to be known only as Mount Holly Joe. I read an article in the local paper that kind of made me boil. Welfare frauds are a drain on taxpayers' dollars. Being a taxpayer here, I have a few things to say. Going to the welfare department and trying to get an elderly person into a county home sure was an experience. Not only for me, but also for my wife, who was slightly shaken up. We were sitting in the welfare office for 2 hours, may I repeat, 2 hours, filling out a form. No one made an effort to come over and ask us if we needed help. All they did was talk about a person who was going to have a baby and other non-welfare things. May I ask, is this the fraud that they are talking about, that our tax dollars are paying for? My wife and I are not dirt, but that's the impression they give you when you enter through the door. Such cold people. Maybe if they would give more people more help, the word fraud would slowly disappear. We were just trying to help an older person live the rest of his life in comfort. Good night, Rebecca.
Good night, Clayton.
And good night for the New Jersey Nightly News.
New Jersey Nightly News is a joint presentation of New Jersey Public Television and WNET 13 and is broadcast weeknights at 6:30 on Channel 13 and at 7:30 on New Jersey Public Television. An updated edition is broadcast at 10 p.m. on New Jersey Public Television.
Major funding for Turnabout has been provided by this station and by other public television stations. Additional funding has been provided by a grant from Lane Bryant, Incorporated.
Who says that summertime television takes a vacation? Not on public TV. All summer long, public television brings you evening after evening of dance, film, music, documentary, and drama. So if you think summertime television takes a vacation, remember, every night's a holiday on public TV.
So listen, I got EP and it's a Gustav Schulte over 1600. What time she getting a pilot?